Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, You Seem Normal. Today I am going to talk about a specific diagnosis or personality disorder, and I'm going to talk about it in the context of pros and cons of this personality disorder in the workplace. So we are going to be talking about obsessive compulsive personality disorder. The acronym is OCPD. It is not the same as OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. So we're going to look at what is obsessive compulsive personality disorder and what makes it different from OCD, and then look at the pros of OCPD in the workplace as well as the cons. And then I'm also going to talk about how there was evidence of my personality disorder in my job applications. Let's get started. So what is obsessive compulsive personality disorder? Okay, I got this definition from a LinkedIn post, so I will link that down below, but it says OCPD is characterized by perfectionism caused by their underlying desire for the need to control and complete things to an unreasonably high self-determined standard. Often the behavior of individuals with OCPD is driven by their fear of being perceived by others as imperfect, incompetent, or unsuccessful, leading them to engage in compulsive behaviors such as adhering to a stringent set of rules, routines, or ideals about the way things should be done. If you know me at all, there may be a couple words or phrases that pop out to you. So yes, essentially obsessive compulsive personality disorder is a personality disorder. OCD, on the other hand, is an anxiety disorder. And OCD is characterized by excessive repetition and obsessions and compulsions based on a fear or anxiety. A lot of the times a person with obsessive compulsive disorder knows what they have, or they know that their actions are different than what other people do, and like they kind of know there's a problem. People with OCPD actually a lot of times do not know that there's an issue because their way of thinking, they just think that that's normal. In obsessive compulsive personality disorder, there's really not this element of repetition as the main symptom. The main symptom is really this mindset of rigidity and really high standards, perfectionism. Now, some people call themselves perfectionists, of course, and that doesn't mean that you have a OCPD. You could have perfectionism to the point where you want to do well and it doesn't inhibit you from doing parts of your work. You're able to keep things at a really high quality, but not let them overall consume you and consume everything that you do. So yes, there's definitely a distinction between a perfectionist or perfectionism and then having a mental illness regarding perfectionism. The key motto for obsessive compulsive personality disorder in the workplace is, if you want something done right, do it yourself. That is because your standards of yourself are so high, no one else could possibly meet them in a group, for example. No one's going to be able to do it right. And I'll get into how that's shown right on my applications for jobs. But there are good things that you can leverage about OCPD to help you be a good worker. And a lot of times, at least for me, I am considered a good employee, a good student. And a lot of that is because of this mental illness. Now, there's also, of course, a dark side and many cons of having this. And so it's important to manage your disorder in therapy. So some pros. I'll just talk about it from my perspective so that I don't put any wrong information. This is my story. Taking responsibility extremely seriously. And so you're dependable and you're able to get things done, and you will. Responsibility can also be a psychological thing. So you're taking ownership of that task and like it is yours and you are going to see it through. As well as there is usually a very high commitment to work, to your work. And so you're reliable. A lot of times you might be an overachiever, a workaholic, and so you spend more time working than you probably do having fun or doing leisure activity, or you will work instead of doing those things. A pro of having OCPD is presenting, for me, it's presenting really quality work because you have standards that are so impossibly high. For me, it was pretty much all the time, every time, was having the best test grade, project, whatever it was, in the class. And I would be told a lot by professors that was the greatest score, that was the best score on the test, or I would get hundreds a lot. I would mostly get hundreds. If you didn't know, I had a 4.0 in high school and in college, and that is definitely play part of this. So, person with OCPD is big on agendas and procedures and rules, and so they're really detailed. Having detailed quality work can be a really good thing. They're not inherently flexible with change, I would say, because they have these procedures of things that we like doing. That's not to say that they can't be okay with change, because that is something that I'm working on. I was actually asked this in an interview, but what if one day you had a plan for what you're gonna do today, and then it was like completely flipped around? And so, you know, whatever. And my response was, actually, what's so great about having a plan is you're able, it seems opposite, but you're able to switch things around, because then you know what you still have to do otherwise, if that makes sense. For me, there is, and this is also related to another disorder that I have, but I have a very strong obligation to right and wrong. Right and wrong meaning my idea of right and wrong. And this both means ethical and unethical, and inaccurate and accurate. We'll get to that in my application as well. So obligation to right and wrong. And then also another part was, a lot of times teachers would sit students by me so that they would perform better. If leveraged correctly and I feel motivated and giving enough to do this, I can be a really good encourager for people. And when people see my quality of work in a group project, for example, they'll usually edit theirs so it's a little better, like those kind of people. So that can definitely be a positive. Okay, so now for the cons of having OCPD in the workplace. So one is your perfectionism can entirely slow down the process of any task. So if somebody wants something done quickly, it doesn't matter if they want it done quickly, you still want it to be perfect. And so a lot of times that will lead to the inability to make quick decisions, and you're just kind of stuck because you're scared that if you make a decision one way, you're not going to be able to go back and it's not going to turn out the way you wanted it to. So it's better just to not make a decision. I think that having OCPD can make it hard to be a boss, because how do you fairly judge other people's work? Definitely having OCPD can lead to burnout in the workplace, because you are spending so much time and energy making everything a certain way and following a certain procedure. And then as well as your commitment to work is so high that a lot of times you'll give up other parts of, you know, your well-being that you should be taking care of, and you'll do work instead. Additionally, back to with other people, I can be highly and hypercritical of things, and so other people see it as nitpicking. It's almost like having too high attention to detail. And then this is something that I came up with. I didn't see it on a lot of articles about like OCPD in the workplace, but for me, it can be really hard to bounce back from mistakes. And that's because if you made a mistake, it means you weren't perfect, and that hurts. It's fear of being imperfect, incompetent, and unsuccessful. A lot of times I'll feel like if I did something wrong, I'll just ruminate on that. So ruminate is when you just have thoughts and thoughts and thoughts that go in a circle and you can't think about anything else. So yes, it can be hard to bounce back from mistakes, and that can be hard in the workplace because you're gonna make mistakes. It's just a part of life. And you have to be able to move on and continue doing your job, continue working with people, and etc. I'm gonna do a just like really quick ending section to how this mental illness of obsessive compulsive personality, it's not an easy thing to say. Obsessive compulsive personality disorder is right in my like job application materials. So first of all, if you look at my GPA, it's a 4.0, and so I never got a B. Again, not everybody with a 4.0 or good grades has OCPD. You can see it in my letters of reference. A lot of them will say things like really strong work ethic, improvement driven, and that's another thing about, you know, perfectionism is you always have to be better. So there you can see it there. And then also I created like this little portfolio for my creative work, and in the front of it, let's see if I have a copy. In my little like about me bio page, I write a little about me, and then I added in my Strengths Finder themes and my Enneagram personality, and both tie in really well to OCPD. So for Strengths Finder, my strengths are achiever, so like strong work ethic, responsibility, dependable, I like this one. Developer cultivates potential in others, and that's okay, good. So my phone ran out of storage, so I'm just going to wrap this up quickly. My Enneagram personality, of course, is type 1, which is like the perfectionist, the reformer. They're really into doing things, doing what's right, setting and meeting high standards and expectations, and working toward improvement in the workplace. Also in my bio, like my little, like, kind of like my tagline is, Molly is committed to doing things better and right. And right means ethical and accurate. So those are some examples of how my OCPD is right in my job applications, because it can in many ways help you be a better performer and like a better producer of work and therefore employee. There are just quite a few ways as well that just make it harder to work with people, move quickly in creating things, and being okay with like the imperfections of life and in the workplace. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you learned a little bit about OCPD if you didn't already know what that was, or if you did already know what that was because maybe you had the disorder. I hope this helped you understand how it plays out in the workplace and what might be some areas of focus to improve yourself, to make yourself more perfect. I'm just kidding. You're not going to be perfect. If you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe because I make mental health videos every Monday for Mental Health Mondays at 10 a.m. And so we'll be doing more topics. Leave your requests in the description, and I'll see you next week. Don't be normal. Is that good? Is that a good ending? Don't be normal.